Hi and welcome back to the channel. Well, if it's your first time here, my name's Andrew and thanks for joining me on another wet day in Wales. And if it's not your first time here, then thank you for coming back and joining me again. So in the video today, I'm going to be covering all the settings of the three different follow modes. So that's going to be the regular follow, the cycling follow and the skiing follow, especially with winter coming up. So I'm going to cover the drone positions, the individual heights and distances of each individual mode, as well as the pros and cons. So you know exactly what position to use and what mode to use depending on your environment, and which one, more importantly, not to use, which could result in you ruining your footage. So by the end of the video, you should know how to get nice, smooth cinematic shots, whether or not you're using the regular follow, cycling follow, or the skiing follow, especially with winter being here. So before I get started, I just want to say, if you could do the like and subscribe thing, that would be absolutely fantastic. Try and get me over the 3,000 subscriber mark by Christmas would be greatly appreciated. And if you could do the notification bell at the bottom, that would be very helpful too. And I'd also like to thank one of my subscribers called Spulver for they contribute to the Buy Me a Coffee, which there's a link below. And like I said, thanks for doing that. It is greatly appreciated. So there are a number of things you need to remember when using any of the follow modes, and that's first of all to make sure you've got a nice strong GPS lock. The second one is to make sure that the camera sensors and lenses are clean, because you don't want any issues with them. And the third one is to make sure that you, if possible, using it in a wide environment, because there's going to be unpredictable moves. The drone may have to compensate, and the last thing you want to do is run into a tree when it's zigzagging about. Now, if you're using your Apple Watch to control the drone, all three of the follow modes are available on the watch itself. But remember that if you want to change the actual position of the drone from left to right or front to back, etc., then you're going to have to stop the drone first and then change it on your watch and then relaunch it. You can't change it dynamically when you're out riding or walking or skiing like you can on the app. But you are able to change the distance and the height of the drone during the activity. You just can't change the actual position of it in relation to yourself, being left, right, front or back. And also at the time of making this video, there are a few flaws I found with using the Apple Watch. And I'll put a video up here in relation to those, because you may want to check that out, because in some situations, depending on what drone you got, it could result in you losing the drone. So you need to be aware of the limitations of the watch itself as well. Now, the first one we're going to look at is the general follow, and that's one that everybody's going to use. Now, in this, the drone's going to maintain a relative position to where you are. So it's going to give you 8 different positions, being front, rear, right and left, as well as front left, front right, rear left and rear right. In addition to this, you're going to have 3 different distances, and they are going to be close, medium or far, as well as 3 different heights, being low, flat and high. Now, the distance from you to the drone is going to vary depending on which mode you're going to use, and I'll go through them with you as well. But if you are using the basic follow mode, then the drone is going to be closer to you than it is, say, using the skiing mode. So when you're using the general follow mode, that's going to be useful just for things like everyday walking, hiking, jogging, or just a general environment where the drone is going to be more or less on a steady path and there's not going to be too many erratic movements. Now, of all the different positions you can have for the drone in the general follow mode, having it to the rear is going to be the best. And this is because the drone is not going to anticipate any of your movements. It's purely going to follow the path that you are on, so you're going to get a nice, smoother result. So as I said earlier, you're going to get 3 different height levels when you're using any of the modes. But in the general follow, the low height is going to be 2 to 4 meters. So that's going to be around about 6 to 13 feet. Then you're going to get the flat height, which is going to be 4 to 6 meters or 13 to 20 feet. And then finally the high, which is going to be 6 to 10 meters or 20 to 30 feet. And then of course on top of that, you've got your distance. So again, the close distance is going to be 3 to 5 meters. So that's going to give you 9 to 15 feet. So then you're going to get the mid distance, which is going to be 6 to 10 meters or 20 to 30 feet. And then the far, which is going to be 12 to 20 meters or 40 to 60 feet. Now, depending on the position of the drone to yourself is going to change the feeling you're going to get from your footage. So if it's going to be close, it's going to be quite intimate. If you're going to have a mid-distance, it's going to be a little more cinematic. And then if you've got it far away, that's going to be more of an epic scale, because you're going to get a lot more of the scenery around you within the frame. Now, when you have the drone following you from behind, I don't tend to use the flat or the mid height. I always tend to go for the high. And this is because if the drone is high and there's going to be less sky in it, you're going to have less chance of the footage being overexposed or color shifts when you're filming. Similarly, I don't tend to use the close. I always tend to go for the medium or far, because I find that's just more pleasing for the type of footage that I'm doing. Now, if you've got a position where the drone's in front of you, that's going to give you more of a documentary feel to your footage. And it just means that the drones are going to move backwards as you move along, whilst keeping you in the frame. Unlike the rear follow, if you are using front follow, again, I tend to use either the far or the medium distance, and the flat and the high distance. Using close is always going to be, from my personal experience, a bit too intimate, unless you're doing some sort of vlogging, in which case I wouldn't really recommend using the drone, although it does have the voice capture feature. So I would tend to go for the further distances and the higher heights. One thing you do need to remember though, when you are using the front follow, is that the drone has to anticipate your moves. So there is going to be times when the drone is going to be a bit more jerky and erratic, because it's trying to work out exactly where you are going. So it's only really that nice, smooth and cinematic if you are going in a straight line. Not so much if you're turning and weaving about. And again, like all the follow modes, I would tend mostly to use it in open spaces. So you're not going to have the issue where the drone is going to try and duck under branches or avoid anything that's going to be in its way. You get a nice, better bit of footage if you have an open environment. And also having the drone either left or right of you, or slightly off center, whether it's the front or back, can also give you some nice footage, because it means that the drone's going to give you a sort of parallax effect as you are walking forward, is keeping you in the center of the frame. But again, you need to make sure that you use distances which are going to be the minimum of medium, going out too far, and possibly the higher the better. But obviously be aware of any obstacles that are going to be in the path as you're walking down, because it means the drone's going to be quite erratic again, trying to dodge these. Also, if you've got a high wind, the drone is not going to keep that position as well as it would following you or tracking you from the front, because it's going to be blown from side to side. So I'd only really use the side follows if you're in a position where you are plenty of room and there's very low wind. So the pros of using the beginner mode is that it's beginner friendly, it's more reliable, you've got smoother footage, and it's going to be more efficient on your battery. But the cons are, it's going to make your footage feel more safe and conservative. It's going to be less aggressive visually, and you're also going to have more issues if you're in crowds. So really, as I said at the beginning of this little section, using the basic follow mode is going to be ideal if you're just out walking, hiking, jogging, that type of thing, and you just want a safe, stable, beginner environment just to get used to how the follow modes work. And this is where I stop for 2 moments and say, as you can hear, it's still raining. So if you could take sympathy on me and do the like and subscribe and the notification bell, that would be really appreciated to try and get over the 3,000 subscribers by Christmas. If you want to do the buy me a coffee thing as well, there's a link for that below, and that also would be greatly appreciated. Now, the main difference with the cycling follow is that it's going to be more geared up for higher speeds. And it also means that the drone is going to try and predict your movements rather than just having a basic follow mode. So it's going to be more jerky and perhaps a bit more visually exciting having it in the cycling mode. So this is going to make a massive difference when you're riding the bike. But it's more designed for road cycling, gravel biking, or smooth trail riding. I don't tend to use it when I'm doing any single track, because when it comes to doing the burns, then the drone is not going to be able to react quick enough. Especially if you're in a forested area, you're going to run into trouble regardless of having the 360-degree obstacle avoidance. So really, although you may see videos of a lot of people mountain biking, then it's not really designed for, like I said, sharp turns. It's more for a smoother type of track. And like with the regular follow mode, it does mean that the drone is going to be better if it's further back and higher, as opposed to being low or close to you. Now, obviously, having the drone further back from you is going to give you a better overall piece of footage. It also means, as I said, the drone is going to be able to anticipate more of what your maneuvers are going to be, and it's going to be able to adjust its position accordingly. And again, like the regular follow mode, it does a better job from behind. If it's got to do it in front and anticipate you, it can mean that it's going to be quite erratic and go all over the place. So it's only really good if you are in a wide open space. If you're on a track in the forest and you got it too far away, the drone's going to anticipate which way you're going to go, and it's going to come into a tree. It's going to then try and adjust for that. It's going to come back. It'll try to adjust where you are again and go off another direction. So your footage is not going to be that smooth. So really with the cycling mode, it all depends on your environment. If it's behind you, you're better off having it further away and higher, providing you've got the space. If it's in front of you, then you are possibly better having it on a close to medium distance and lower down, because if it's far away and high, then the drone is going to be more erratic in trying to adjust to your movements. Now, in my experience, using the drone to the left or right of you is practically impossible unless you're in an open environment when you're using cycling mode, because it's just not going to be able to keep up with any movements through the trees, turning left or right. It's pointless. You're not going to get any nice smooth footage. So only use the left or right, or the adjacent rear left, rear right, front left, front right, if you're in a wide open environment. So the pros of using the cycling mode is going to do a better speed matching. It's going to give you nice smoother turns, and it's also going to be more predictive when you are moving about. But the cons are going to be, you're going to need a wider environment. You're going to be more limited on the position of the drone. Like I said, I wouldn't tend to use it on the sides. It's going to use the battery up quicker as well. So if you are on a bike, you're moving fast and you've got a straight path, then obviously a cycling follow is going to be the way to go. So the ski mode is, as the name suggests, built for downhill speed. So this means the drone is going to be more tuned for sudden speed increases, for downhill movement, and also for more gravity-fed activity. And it's going to work best when you've got a constant movement, when you're not stopping and starting. The rain's really coming down now. When it comes to the height of the drone, when you're using the skiing mode, it's going to be dramatically different to when you're using the regular follow and even the cycling mode. The drone is going to be a lot further back and also a lot higher. And like cycling mode, it's going to try and predict your movement, so it needs that extra distance between the drone and yourself to anticipate exactly what you're going to do. And as a result of this distance, it's going to make the footage look a lot more cinematic and dramatic as well. So like the other modes, especially cycling, having the drone too close to you is going to be pointless. Having the drones, I recommend, to the side of you is going to be a bit of much a waste of time as well. Not so much in front of you, because you're going to have plenty of room for the drone to maneuver, but you're really going to get the best footage with the drone behind you and high. Also, using skiing mode means that the drone is going to be more tuned in to the contrast between you and the snow, so that's going to give you an even better tracking option than using the plain follow, and you're going to have a better speed result from the drone as well. Now, when using ski mode, I would recommend having the drone just to the rear and high, because unlike the other modes, you're going to have a lot of lateral movement. So you are going to be going from left to right, and the drone then is going to be able to compensate better for you doing those turns. Whereas if you've got the drone on the side, it's going to be a bit more confusing for the drone, and it's not going to track you as well. So the advantage of using the ski mode is going to handle the speed really well. It's going to give you excellent tracking from the distance, and it's going to give you some really nice, smooth, cinematic, exciting footage. And of course, the cons are the fact that you're going to need more wide open space to make the most of the drone, and with the cold and the extra speed, the battery flight time is going to be dramatically reduced as well. So to sum it up, if you're using the regular follow mode, then you could use all the options that are available to you within that mode, because you're not going to have any massive speed changes, and the drone's going to be more able to adapt to any environmental issues that you've got. If you're using the cycling mode, I wouldn't use the close. I would stick to the mid distance as being the basic. And then if you're using the ski mode, then the only option you've got really is going to be far and high to capture the most from the skiing activity that you're doing. Anything else is just going to be a waste of time, and it's going to ruin your footage, and it just means you're using the battery up without anything usable at the end of it. Okay, I hope you found it useful, and I hope you do get the most out of your drone when you are using it for the follow mode. So as I said earlier, if you could do the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would be really greatly appreciated. If you've got any questions in relation to the Neo 1 or the Neo 2, the Mini 4 Pro or the Mini 5 Pro, the Hover X1 Pro or Pro Max, or any of the action cams such as the Osmo Action 6, please let me know in the comments below as well. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. If there's any particular videos you also want to see me do, also again, please feel free to ask. And if you could follow me on any of the other social medias, it's at Drone360World, and that's on Instagram, X and TikTok. Thanks very much.